Yes, I do.
Hey, hello everyone.
We have more people in the audience, I see. Could you guys confirm that you hear us? Everything is okay?
Some familiar faces there.
You can raise a hand or, many familiar faces. Okay, Magdalena, thank you. So it's good. So before we start, maybe we just check if everything is okay with the setup, is recording. Michał, could you maybe start sharing your screen already?
Yeah.
Just so we don't forget about that.
Oh, I won't forget.
We're recording this, so this will be posted to YouTube like the previous ones. Hopefully sooner than later, because we've only uploaded the first two events this week. But other than that, yeah, let's get it rolling.
Yeah.
We have some people here. Most of you will probably watch this on YouTube later on. If you do, we invite you to join our Discord and join the next event live as it happens.
Yep, link is below the video on YouTube as well. Link to Discord.
So before we start with our agenda for today, I just wanted to say that it seems our Discord is getting more active lately. There's a lot of questions being asked, so just wanted to congratulate you for the.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so
I can see. I also can see that the apps are getting more traction recently, which is great.
Yeah,
yep,
so
definitely.
Other than that, let's start with our agenda. So today we have 3 points we would like to discuss. The 3 points we have planned, and maybe other topics if there are questions. So the 3 topics would be App Store, the update, the Stripe integration, and some changes to the Auth SDK, Sailor's Auth SDK. So let's maybe start with this order. App Store. What's new? What changed? And what's exciting about App Store?
Patrick, you want to start, or should I start? Or
maybe you can start. I can say a few words about the App Store itself, because as you probably know, the App Store is a collection of applications that you can install to extend Sailor, which means you can add new features and connect Sailor to external services without having to modify the source code, which is our number one priority, so that everyone can use the latest version of Sailor, so that they can upgrade and no one is left behind simply because they had to customize their installation in some way or another. Mm-hmm. So the App Store is a collection of applications. Most of them, or currently all of them, are written in Next.js and TypeScript, which is important because Sailor itself is written in Python, and we're often approached by people who are confused and they think that they need to learn Python to extend Sailor. So the app can also serve as an example of this not being the case. You can extend Sailor using any language really. You can use PHP, you can use Java, you can use JavaScript, whichever framework you're familiar with. And we post those monthly updates where we show which new applications have been released, and we also sometimes announce what we're working on next. So this is one of those updates, and I think Michał, you can run through the list quickly.
Yeah. So the quick updates is the completely revamped CMS app. I think it was rewritten. The UI was rewritten from scratch using our brand new Macau UI implementation. There's Dato CMS integration as well as Contentful. And there's also the release of Builder.io integration. So I think there's even more to come, but these tools are probably top notch in their areas. So I'm happy to announce that Sailor is now integrated with those.
And Michał, before we maybe go into details, can we quickly explain for those who are maybe new to the subject the use cases for this particular app, the CMS. How can it be used, and what it brings to the table? Why we could use it, or why we should use it?
Yeah, because Sailor gives you some limited possibility to create CMS content, like static pages, but usually you want to have more flexibility, or maybe you have an existing system in place and that you want to integrate with Sailor. So now you can do it, and you can synchronize between Sailor like products and your CMS, and you can add more details inside the CMS or fetch those. It's both ways integration. Yeah, I also forgot Strapi. We're also integrated with Strapi.
You can use the external CMS as a sort of a PIM, or like most of a PIM, because pricing and availability is still controlled using Sailor. But I wanted to speak a bit about one of the details you mentioned, which is using the new Macau UI. What is Macau UI?
Yeah, that's a great question, because our viewers might not know this, but we've been the team was working on completely revamped new Macau UI, which is the
UI library.
I didn't want to say UI library because it's so much more. It's a design system for Sailor apps.
That's fair.
And it's also open source, and we're releasing daily the new beta versions. And there is the storybook. There are new components being created. Yeah, like I said, almost daily. And all our in-house apps are using Macau UI right now. Let me share this link with you as well.
Yeah,
this is a link to a storybook. Yeah.
So Sailor itself also uses Macau UI. So Macau UI as a goal is to provide a consistent design system where the applications you build integrate seamlessly into Sailor itself. They look the same, they behave the same, they react to the theme being switched between light and dark mode and so on. So if you're building something for Sailor, we encourage you to give Macau a try, and that's easily the best UI library if you're building something for Sailor, because it looks native once embedded in our dashboard.
Yeah, and thanks to Macau, I guess the goal is to make all our in-house applications to look consistent. And thanks to Macau, this is just simple and easy and possible at all. So
it should be simple, right? So if anyone have problems, please let us know what should be improved to make this library easier to use and more straightforward. What else we have for the App Store?
Yeah, emails and messages updates. We have this app called Emails and Messages, and there are new events being handled now, like order refunded and fulfillment updated. So we can now customize the what kind of emails are being sent in reaction to those events.
So this is the app for sending emails, right? The app that allows us to
and creating them. Yeah.
Yes. Not only emails though.
So what are messages?
Yeah, you can also use it to ping your Slack channel, for example, or SendGrid, or eventually we wanted to handle all sorts of communication. Currently, it's focused on SMTP and email templates, but the goal is for it to be the communication center around Sailor. So we'll be folding integrations like Slack into it, and probably extending it to other channels. Like maybe you want to have your company Slack, but maybe a Telegram channel, whatever works for you. We want to add it here. So it's not just emails, even though emails are currently what it does. It's just an early version, and the integrations are limited.
So, but if someone wants to add Telegram integration, should this person can add it, or it would be in this case done by Sailor? Let's imagine that someone has a requirement for a specific message channel.
All right. So the application is open source. So if you wanted to contribute it, I think it would be quite easy to upstream your changes because, PRs are welcome. If you send a pull request, we're happy to review it. But the application itself is also, customizable locally because you can just edit the source code and run it on your machine. It's open source, like free as in beer, not free as in speech. You can also run it for free. The license is very permissive here. So it really depends on what you want to achieve. If you want to build it and have someone else maintain it, I think we'll all be happy to take over future integrations. I'm not sure how hard it is to build something that is not email at the moment, because we don't have we haven't set a precedent here yet. I know for the CMS app, Łukasz told me it's a matter of a single day to integrate a new backend or a new vendor. I'm not sure how easy it would be to add something that is not email to the messages app. But the eventual goal is also to achieve this level of customizability, where a single afternoon is enough to integrate with the channel you care about.
That's great.
Of course, depending on how easy it is to work with the other end of the API. So whether you're integrating with Slack or Telegram or anything else, really, maybe you want to send SMS using Trello. It really depends on how much work it takes to integrate the other vendor as well.
But our goal is to have it all in one place, right? Like to have this one app that integrates different providers and maybe different, let's say, channels. I'm not sure if channel is a good way, but email, Slack, Telegram, and other ways of communicating.
I wouldn't use channels because channels are also
it's something
in
different.
Sailors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, different forms of media.
Okay. What else we have for the App Store?
Yeah, we also have the updates to the taxes app, which currently it supports two taxes providers, which is Avalara Avatax and TaxJar, and it's the application that's responsible for calculating taxes in cases where it's not as easy as single country or single region.
And can we just give an example of that, because I think it's an interesting topic.
Sure, if you're shipping worldwide or even in the US across different states, then the taxes can get really complex.
I think US is a prime example of this because you can have a sales tax at the state level and one at the city level and a federal tax on top of that. So you can have three taxes applied on top of a single sales order, and it all depends on where the seller is, but also where the buyer is, and whether the seller has business presence in the state where the buyer operates, and so on. It's very complex, and calculating taxes for the US is a lot of work. We're not trying to solve this in-house.
And Avatax
at the moment,
is one of the leaders, if I'm not mistaken, in this area,
yes,
right?
I think it's currently number one in terms of coverage and popularity. So yeah, it's very popular among people who do sell in the US.
Yeah. So right now it's built into as an app for Sailor.
Yes. So now the technically from the backend perspective, it works like Sailor asks the taxes app to calculate taxes, and then the app returns the result, which is used to proceed with the everything else inside of Sailor. And this update changes the way that we validate addresses and makes it more consistent and also more correct. I think it's really easy right now to integrate with Avalara or Avalara Avatax or the TaxJar, and it will come in handy for anyone from the US or I guess other countries as well.
Yeah, you can use it for any country, really anywhere in the world. I know another popular use case is selling items between UK and EU, since UK left
Right.
the common market. It's now subject to some regulations that were not there previously. So that's another use case. But US is the prime example of why Avatax is a thing and why it's so popular as a company.
Okay, so the next thing is the app SDK, which has some changes.
Yes, the app SDK changes. Apps SDK is the development kit that we provide for TypeScript developers, mostly XJS with TypeScript, to build their apps. But like Patrick said, you can build apps using any technology. However, we specifically want to support the Next.js and TypeScript because it's probably most commonly used combination among our users right now. And the newest addition to App SDK is the ability for apps to ask for permissions dynamically. Previously, you had to define the list of permissions, and those permissions had to be granted to the app for the app to even get installed. And right now, those permissions they can be requested gradually, and you can grant them well as you go. So I can see several use cases for apps that will cover wider areas of Sailor. I don't know, like a checkout app, for example. If someone wanted to build an app that covers multiple things, like connected to shipping addresses, orders, as well as checkouts, they could probably have separate permissions for those and ask for those only if you enable a set of certain features inside the app.
If I may, I wanted to speak some more about the SDK itself, because as you said, the Sailor app SDK is really TypeScript focused and Next.js focused at the moment. But it's simply because we had to start somewhere. The SDK is really not a strict requirement to build applications. It's just a convenience layer that sits on top of the GraphQL API. So you could achieve everything without it being in place. It just makes a lot of things convenient for you and takes care of the boilerplate. So you can already use all the languages and all the libraries to integrate with Sailor. But we had to start somewhere, and we decided that most people who would benefit from such a system are people who are going to build applications for themselves. And since these people already build storefronts, they are most likely familiar with the JavaScript world. So technologies like TypeScript and Next.js seems like the best starting point for it.
Yeah,
But do let us know if you would be interested in a different SDK, in a different set of technologies, and we can explore how we can achieve that.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you wanted to implement it yourself for your own needs, you can always use our Sailor app SDK as a reference of some sort. But it handles all the boilerplate, like Patrice said, behind the scenes. It also takes care of making sure that the webhooks and requests that are coming into your app are actually valid and secure. I think this is the most important part from my perspective, at least.
Yeah, it's very refined. And I think it's also about popularity, right? Because if you're using TypeScript is becoming, with Next.js, kind of like a PHP. There's a lot of programmers. I think it could be easier to maintain those apps and long term. But still, we have flexibility to support any other means of developing such apps. Here in the blog post, there's also a mention about permissions and RFC related to that. Could we maybe show?
It's the details of the dynamic permissions request, which we've been talking about. It describes the process. Also, Sailor is very public with their RFCs. There are a lot of them being published to for example, the Discord channel for anyone to take a peek and comment or ask questions. So we also invite you to participate.
Yeah, you're reading my mind, Michał. So we talked about it last time, but I wanted to just reiterate that, as you said, it's open. There's a lot of RFCs. We mentioned a few of them already during those updates, and we invite everyone to check them and maybe help us steer into like direction you want to see a Sailor going. So if you have ideas or things we should refine, either look for an RFC or maybe propose to create another one.
In our Discord, there is a channel called Request for Comment, and we post there RFCs that specifically want or need your input. So if you join our Discord, make sure you visit that channel, and from time to time we will post links to RFCs that we're still refining or we're about to start implementing, where we take additional input to make sure we're building something that works for everyone, not just specific use cases that we're familiar with.
Absolutely. Do we have anything more for App Store?
Well, I guess it's somewhat related. The Stripe release that we were talking about last time that we've met.
Yeah, we briefly mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, but now we also have it's officially launched. We have the docs, we have the examples. Everything is ready for anyone to integrate with that.
So now I think before last time we showed that it was only Next.js 13 app router, right? Implementation. And now you split it into two different approaches for Next.js. And we have this nice example that somewhere over here. Yeah, this one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've built the docs for the Stripe app. It's super easy to integrate, and just by writing the docs, I realized how easy it is actually to integrate Stripe with Sailor now through the Stripe app. And with the example, which is obviously open source and available on our GitHub, then we can easily build your own, integrate Sailor and Stripe into your own storefront with just a few lines of code, really. And now the example is divided into app router and pages router. And I think this is the pattern that we'll try to continue on doing for some time for other examples as well, at least through the sort of transition period. I think that a lot of people are still using pages router, which is stable and people know it. But there are some users starting to ask questions about the new app router, which we love. And it's the new shiny fancy thing that we all want to use, but we still have to give it some time to
to refine it and to be sure that we support both. Yeah. Could you show me how it works?
Oh yeah, I can do it. Let's fingers crossed. I hate live going live with the demos. So it's very simplistic. We've decided to take this approach. I think we talked about this last time, but just briefly, that we want to split our examples into very simplistic ones. So this one is only about Stripe. It creates the checkout behind the scenes under the hood. It handles all the details, but it's not really important, so it's not shown. So all you have to do is click one button to get to the payment. So behind the scenes, it does all the logic that's required inside of Sailor. And after it creates the payment intent in Stripe. And then after a few seconds, you get this Stripe element embedded onto your storefront. And you can use the example card number that's up here, which is and you can pay. Because it's obviously it's a test instance with demo data, so this example card number will work, and it also creates order in Sailor under the hood. But all in all, it confirms that the payment works.
Mm-hmm. And as you talked, we have this approach now to have very atomic examples, and we want to have a lot of them. So I think we are now currently working on a tool to help you discover those examples, and probably it will be shown in the next update. but we will be also working on maybe some more refined examples that connect those smaller ones, so that you could also see how everything fits into a bigger picture through the whole process of like selling something and doing the checkout, and maybe later stages as well. So that's our current approach: small examples, and maybe then some kind of unification between different of those smaller examples.
Yeah, our ideal examples are self-contained to the point where you can just copy and paste the relevant bits into your existing project. So you don't have to look for the relevant parts or chase around the code base to find the code. It's the goal is to really have like a single function that handles the important bit.
Yeah, in this case, this is the crucial, like how much is it? How many lines of code is it? It's like 10 lines of code, right? 11. And it's almost all you need to do to run Stripe and integrate it with Sailor and your storefront. So basically you run this piece of GraphQL and it works.
Yeah, I think it could be even smaller, right? Because you already, Michał, were worked on like abstracting this away, and we have only like 2 parameters here, which is the mutation name, right? And then the ID. And then the rest is kind of like some kind of, maybe not boilerplate, but it could be abstracted somewhere. So this is just a very simple invocation, and I think in the long term, this is how it will look like. Some invocations, not even maybe related to GraphQL explicitly as in this example. Yeah, so what's next? You also wanted to show some docs, right? That we have docs now. You mentioned that at the beginning. Mm-hmm.
Sure, we have docs for the Stripe, as well as many other things, indeed. We are working really hard on the docs. There are several people involved. There are updates coming daily. We've reworked the structure of the docs. So, well, I just invite anyone who haven't yet to give a try to Sailor and go through the docs and see how it works. And if you like it, and if you don't, just give us, get in touch, leave a comment or a message on Discord, and we'll try to make it better.
May I? There is a topic on Discord in the ideas channel strictly about improving documentation. So if you have any comments or suggestions, really go there and write what's on your mind. Even if you cannot contribute content, we would be glad to know what's missing, what areas you would like to see covered better, or how we can improve documentation structure, for example.
So, so there are also docs for that for the apps that we were talking about previously, like 10 minutes ago. So the CMS apps are described here. The Taxes app also have their own section in the docs. So it's all in there. So please refer to that while installing and experimenting with the apps. Okay, and so the final topic for today, a small update to the Auth SDK. Yes, I heard you had your debut on the Hollywood stage, didn't you, Kuba? Yes. It's like our small Oppenheimer premiere. Jakub released a video on authentication in Sailor and Next.js. Yeah, but maybe we could start with the README first. Of course. And maybe let's give some background. So the initial version of our SDK was a little bit too complex. It was done for a reason, but we decided to make it more straightforward to consume as a library. And the driving force behind this was Timur. I think Timur is now in the audience, one of our colleagues and our head of product. So he
So the idea here was to make it even simpler than before to consume that library, so to integrate authentication into your application. And as we said before, we focus for now on Next.js and React specifically. So now we were talking internally about that, and we decided that it should be as simple as possible without any additional abstractions. And the first thing is that we expose now directly Apollo client. So you have to use it if you already know how to use Apollo, for example, or Urkel, you just have to use it the regular way. And then we just make a link between our Auth client, which is a little bit higher. It's 2 lines, here. We just create an instance and we connect the two, and that's all you have to do. And then you can subscribe to some events directly into your app, which is on signed out and on signed in. So that's useful when you are logging in or logging out. And that's basically all you have to do to initialize the Auth SDK now. And then there is another step, the logging. So for example, for a particular page, you can now use those methods you have in the context that were provided in the app, and then you can use them to perform the signing in or signing out process. So that's the simplification. I think if you have, please check it out. Let us know how it works for you. And as you started saying about my Hollywood debut, there is another video. So the previous one is outdated. It's no longer visible. It's unlisted, and now the new one shows you how to do this. I'm going through it with you, with people watching me, and trying to implement that in under, let's say, 11 minutes. So please check that video. And we are working on more examples. So authentication is crucial for us. So we want to have different cases. So there is also, it's something which we already talked about, like OpenID Connect and other places, other ways of doing authentication. So if you're unsure about authentication, or you would like to know more about this, please let us know directly, and we will try to help you.
Yeah, I think we'll also be updating docs one more time again soon with the detailed diagram of the whole flow. What's actually happening behind under the hood of Sailor Auth SDK for the developers to understand what's actually going on. Because
I think
the process
we also need
is quite complex.
Yeah, I think we also need to document a decision tree of which version of authentication you really need, because the Auth SDK is useful for authenticating users who log into Storefront, for example. But there are also applications and users of those applications. So there are 2 different ways to authenticate, because there's an application authenticating itself against the Sailor API, and there's the user authenticating itself against an API that's extending the Sailor dashboard. And those are completely separate workflows. And they don't require the use of this library. One of them requires the App SDK, and the other is just a matter of saving the access token somewhere. So I think we need to also document the decision tree, which type of authentication you need, and then whether you should be using the JavaScript library or GraphQL directly.
Yeah. So I think the idea behind our SDK is for the storefront users, for the customers of actual shops, stores, to authenticate.
Yeah, so I think that's all we have for you for today. That's our plan. And I think we have a record. We have 9 people in the audience.
There's one more thing.
One more thing. Yeah.
It's related to Authentication SDK. We also have an example with Urkel and Apollo client that's open source, available on GitHub, and available live in Vercel to test it out.
Yeah, and as we said at the beginning, we are also working now on unifying those examples even more, So we would like to have them in one place and easier to discover. So you could just, you don't have to look in different places. Yeah, so maybe we could get some questions if there are any from our 9 audience members.
Yeah, I've posted all links
Mhm.
on chat. That's a bit hidden on Discord in case of video channels. But it's in top right corner. You can open chat and see all the links. I'll make sure they also publish under the video on the YouTube in the description, so the context is not lost. And the repository that Kuba mentioned, which contains all of the examples that we're working on, is just Sailor/examples on GitHub.
Yeah, and this in the following weeks, this repository will be growing, and with those like a tiny atomic examples.
Yes,
We have.
I heard there is a new storefront coming.
There's always a new storefront coming. Because we will keep building those examples. Initially, we focus on Next.js, but we'll probably build something using other front-end technologies eventually.
Yeah,
So
I actually have a question related to that somewhat, because by different technologies probably means something like, I don't know, Remix, or I don't know, Dino, or something completely unrelated to the JavaScript world. But I actually had a question related to Next.js and to Kuba, related to Authentication SDK. Do you think it's feasible, or should we expect the Authentication SDK update for AppRouter coming in the near future?
I think that this should be driven by our clients. So we have to be sure that we provide like this stability first. So if the clients request something like that, I think that would be a data point, a good opportunity to like entertain this idea of implementing that. But for now, we want to focus on what the clients are using. So for now, as far as I know, no one is using both AppRouter with authentication. So, but maybe this will change quickly, and I think we are ready to act quickly, because as you, I know what you're meaning with your question, but we are already like working not only on AppRouter but any other solutions. So we are prepared. So if any of you in our audience would like to build something like that, I think this could be quickly delivered. But again, the stability and like supporting the existing scenarios for our clients is the priority for us.
Yeah, that's very sensible.
So maybe we could take some. I see a lot of like familiar faces in the audience, but anyway, maybe someone would like to request to ask a questions, and maybe we could test this flow. Now your chance.
use the chat to ask questions, and while you do, I wanted to say that for those of you who are not on Discord, we really encourage you to join Discord and take part in those meetings live. For those of you who are on Discord and want to contribute, there's a, as mentioned before, request for comments channel where you can review our RFCs early and give us feedback about the upcoming features. And there's also a good first issues channel where you can get your feet wet in any part of Sailor really by contributing the small bits that are easily approachable. They're not large features. They don't require weeks of work. And so if you want to contribute back to the project, either use this channel or look for issues tagged with good first issue on GitHub. Most of our projects that Sailor consists of have those, and they are a really good way to get in touch with the dev team and start contributing to the project.
Yeah, I don't see any questions, so maybe we could stop here. We should be having another update in about 2 weeks. Maybe
We
more.
always say 2 weeks, and it always becomes 3 to 4 weeks. But
Yeah,
we will announce that.
I think we should take the approach of the huge corporations. We'll announce things when they are ready. So expect unexpected.
At 10 minutes to the next event, we'll announce it. Once we're absolutely sure that that will work. Anyway, we'll try to stick to 2 weeks and make it work eventually. It's the holiday period, so it's kind of hard to restrict ourselves to have an update every 2 weeks, because some of us are absent and some of us have other plans that are incompatible with sitting in front of an audience. But other than that, whenever we have something exciting to share, we'll just plan an event and appear in front of you to speak about it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any questions from the audience, actually. So.
We don't have any questions this time, but maybe next time. So thank you everyone for participating. Thank you, Michał. Thank you, Patrick. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zaista.
See ya. Bye bye.
See you next time.
Bye bye.